Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. And also be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. So for those of you passionate and interested in Italian fashion, this is the episode that you don't want to miss. As accompanying this journey through the names of Italian fashion, I will have Grazia D'Annunzio, who is the probably one of the most well-known also fashion, I would say historian. We'll talk to Grazia about it, but she teaches fashion and communication at Università degli Studi di Milano. And she also hosts the series of Dressing Style at New York University Casa Italiana Zerilli Marimò. And she recently launched under the aegis of the New York University, the series Italian Fashion from A to Z that is available on YouTube that totally captured my interest, and I've been binging on her episodes for the last couple of months. Ma prima, pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. Salve Grazia, benvenuta al programma.
Ciao, and thank you so much for this great invitation. I'm really excited to talk to you and, be with a big audience from all over the world and talking about fashion, which is my passion. So thank you so much, Viviana, of thinking of me and inviting me today.
Absolutely. So my question is, since you also teach at the University of Milan, where are you connecting from today? Are you in New York or are you on the other side of the ocean?
No, I'm in New York.
Okay.
I'm in New York. I will be back to Italy at the end of the month because I'm going to start, teaching my spring semester.
Okay.
Class. But now I'm based in New York.
Your students.
And it's a beautiful day today. Beautiful. It looks like springtime. So it's really nice.
I'm very envious of your students. I would give gold to be in one of your
well, I don't know that. Very nice and kind. I don't know. I'm very demanding.
So, Grazia, you also have a very interesting professional career, a wonderful career, also with the Italian Condé Nast. And you were also the deputy editor of Vogue Italian and the first editor-in-chief of Italian Glamour. So for those of us who have not had the opportunity to have such very interesting professions and jobs, can you tell us, can you take us a little bit about also the backstage, or what happens to make an issue come out, and a little bit about your roles and your opportunities. Just take us a little bit to your professional world of those years.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I started my, career. I started working in journalism in 1980. I had a classical background. I studied classic at university, and never in a million years I thought that I would become a fashion journalist. But you know what? Life is strange, and I love writing, and I love also fashion. So I had a kind of interesting training because I was really a good student, and I really loved to research and study. And then I realized that I didn't know anything about the apart from fashion, the 20th century. And fashion was, because I was, a bookworm, and I loved the past. So I knew everything about the Roman Empire and the Greek literature, but very, very little of what was going on in the, even in the 20th century. And fashion is, fashion mirrors our time. So it was interesting for me to start thinking of, studying fashion as a reflection of our society from a serious point of view. So I started doing that, and I had the pleasure, and I was extremely lucky that I found at the very beginning of my career, an iconoclast, an iconoclastic mind, a very strong woman, extremely opinionated, and very strong in her vision. And she was the late Franca Sozzani, who became the editor, the powerful editor in chief of Italian Vogue, and was also my editorial director when I launched Italian Glamour. So I had a lovely time. I worked really, really hard, first in Italy, and then in 1995, I moved to New York, and for 25 years, I became the US project editor, not only for Italian Vogue, Casa Vogue, and Glamour, but other magazines that we have under Condé Nast, such as Architectural Digest or Vanity Fair. So I experienced either the beauty of working in an office with other people, talking with the art director, the graphic department, and put together a magazine. And also I had the pleasure of pure writing and do photo search for magazines, for all the magazines that I collaborated with when I was here in New York.
Okay. And where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in a lovely town south of Milan called Cremona, which is very well known for the music tradition. I mean, Ponchielli is from Cremona, Monteverdi is from Cremona, so great composers, and also Stradivari and Guarneri, the very famous violin makers, are from Cremona. And Cremona has a very also Mina, our great singer, is from Cremona. And we also have an international school in Cremona dedicated to the art of violin making, and is an international school.
And actually, this past summer, I specifically came to Cremona to meet with a maestro lutaio, and I was just amazed about the art that maestro Stefano Trabucchi puts in his art, and the continuation of this profession again, of this that was wonderful. So now in New York, just kind of fast forward to the last couple of years, as it seems to be now a common theme, but in a great way. I mean, we all had to deal with a major event such as the pandemic, but one of the results is indeed lots of brainstorming, a lot of creativity, new projects, new books, new ideas. And I believe something like that, the creativity bug hit you as well.
Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit? So this is what eventually led to the development of the program that we're going to focus on today in this episode. But give us a little bit about the dynamics of some of the conversations and the preliminary ideas that were tossed that eventually developed into the creation of the Italian fashion from A to Z.
I have a very good relationship with the Casa Italiana Zerilli Marimo, which is the Italian outpost at New York University. And I'm very honored to be a very good friend of Professor Stefano Albertini, who is a great Italian, who is the director of Casa. Casa is extremely a vibrant cultural place. They organize
wonderful institution.
Yeah, wonderful institute. They organize, they open the door to almost everything, and they organize beautiful conferences and talks and lectures on literature, on contemporary cinema, on even on fashion. They were very, very welcoming to me. And, many years ago, something like 13 years ago, I came up with an idea to have a program twice a year where I interview people from my world, from the fashion world, but also from the world of fashion photography and graphics and artistic direction. So Stefano embraced this idea, and I'm really happy that I'm still doing that. But during the pandemic, I was in Italy, actually. I was in Italy because I was, of course, it was, around end of the February, beginning of
Semester.
March. I was back for my summer, my spring class, and the pandemic struck, and they closed all the everything. So I was confined in my lovely place, and I have to tell you, a very good time, because for the first time after 25 years, I had the pleasure of staying in Italy more than 2 months, because you couldn't go anywhere else. But I am a little bit ebullient, and I can't stay still. So I love teaching, but I wanted to have also something else going on. And Stefano called me and asked me if I could come up with an idea just to entertain our audience that, of course, couldn't come, to casa, so had to be entertained on a different platform. So on internet. And so I said to him, well, why don't we do a kind of dictionary of fashion? At the beginning, I was very grand. So I thought in a very grandiose way. So I wanted to do a kind of encyclopedia of Italian fashion. And of course, I started searching, and it was too much also, because, we used to have, I would say, a conversation every 3 weeks with Stefano, and about this project. And then he said to me, oh, Grazia, I have to really tell you something. The episodes the episodes need to be short, because the attention span is limited. So let's say that the length can be different, but you can move to 3 minutes up to maybe 12, maybe 20. 20 is the maximum. And I realized that with very little time, I couldn't do the encyclopedia. So I decided to do a dictionary, because I love dictionaries. And so it's a very personal dictionary of fashion. So each letter is linked to an adjective, which is linked to a specific designer, or a group of designers, or a particular theme of fashion. And that is sometimes could be simple or a little bit more complicated, because of course the letter A is definitely Armani. But what about the letter Z? What about the letter W?
Or the Q, right?
The Q. So I had to put together a dictionary where every topics of fashion and the major designers will be eventually covered, and that try to be clear, informative, short, and having in mind a very specific audience. And my audience are the students. Specifically the students. And then, of course, everybody who's interested in fashion is much more than welcome to check my series. But I did that specifically for students. Also because you don't have a lot of books on what is going on in fashion today. And you have books, they talk a lot about the 20s, the 30s, the 50s, of course, the 20s, the 50s. In Italy, talking about Italian fashion was born in the 50s. So it's from the 50s on. And it, when it comes to the 80s, everything is, it's very superficial, because it's difficult also to analyze what's going on now. So, for instance, you don't have a lot of books on Prada. Yeah. And it was not easy for me also to dissect in 10 minutes the aesthetic of Prada and be clear.
Yes. And I think that's actually the challenge, but a challenge that you have conquered and mastered beautifully, obtaining a balance that I have to say, even though maybe your original thought as far as your targeted audience were the students of fashion, who are just someone interested, but I don't have any background on it, found totally attracted to this format. And I think I had a long drive ahead of me. And that's how I came across your program. And again, I start binging on it because, again,
Thank you.
Pillole di
Pillole, yes, they're little
informazione.
pills of fashion. No, thank you so much, because yes, you have to have a target when you think of something. And I was thinking of the students. I love teaching, and I think that they also need a kind of a clarity when they approach to certain topics. So I hope it's going to be helpful for them. But of course, I mean, everybody who wants to know a little bit of not gossips, but the history of
The facts.
our great tradition. Yes, that I mean, I'm really happy when I have people that they're interested in fashion, or they're simply curious, and they follow my series. I'm really proud and very honored.
Well, I'll tell you also something else that I have done. So the first pass, so to speak, it was, you became my best friend for this. You made my long drive very enjoyable, but obviously I had to focus on the road. So I was just going by the audio information, even though, as we will be sharing one of your episodes, the pictures that are just shown constantly. I mean, it's as fluid as your storytelling experience. So the second and the third pass around, it was actually more systematic watching in order to learn. So the first one was, oh, okay, I didn't know about this and everything. And then you really trigger that curiosity and say, I want to rewatch the episode and I want to take notes, because I want to go and search and maybe were also movies that you might have mentioned, or Academy Awards where such wore that one dress, or just the history of some of those designers. So we had to go back to also some black and white pictures.
Yeah. And also the reason why we decided to have subtitles is specifically, decided thinking of a large audience that maybe don't know certain names, especially in certain,
Schiaparelli's
some artists, Schiaparelli, all the artist references that sometimes I put here and there. So at least everything is clear. So it's not that a name that you say, oh, I never heard of it, or what's that? Everything is it is available through the subtitles. So eventually the students, if they're curious, can write down the name and do a parallel search.
Okay, so I think without any further ado, we should treat our audience to one of your episodes. The episodes are indeed available for free on YouTube, and the program is called Italian Fashion from A to Z. And even though the first episode, and we'll talk about that later, was not the letter A, because, Grazia, she likes, her dictionary, but she likes her own.
To go random, also because, also in order to create some expectation, or some not expectation, curiosity. So I said, well, let me start with a different letter, not the letter A. The letter A was the second one.
So we will be watching the episode that I will introduce our beautiful designer, A come Armani.
The king.
Hi, and welcome to the letter A.
Okay, so let me just adjust the speed. I was doing an Italian class with my students. So let me get you a little bit of faster speed.
A as in A plus, as in, of course, Armani. Let's start with a simple question. What is the link between Giorgio Armani and Andy Warhol, apart from the first posing for the letter in this portrait? Well, they share an identical entry-level position, that of a window dresser. Andy at the New York department stores, Bon Viteller, and Giorgio at the Rinascente in Milan in 1960. In the mid-60s, Armani changed its career path, becoming a freelance designer at Nino Cerruti, a well-known industrialist and men's fashion designer, working for the brand Hitman. But in 1973, alongside with his genius business partner, the late Sergio Galeotti, Armani eventually decided to create his own label. Fast forward to July 1975, his masterpiece, the unstructured men's jacket, was launched. Cleanly tailored, soft as a second skin, without the stiff shoulder pads, the Armani jacket soon became a revolutionary outfit because it provided comfort and easiness and, at the same time, an impeccable fit. The unstructured women's jacket soon followed, setting off a stellar career. Now, which are the leitmotifs of Armani timeless aesthetic? First, less is more, which means simplicity, perfectionism, and essentiality. Second, an unmistakable color palette. All the shades of blue, from navy to azure to aqua and everything in between. And that mix of beige and gray, which was renamed greige, and since the late 70s symbolized the typical Armani Metropolitan Milanese color. Third, the use of soft fabrics and new shapes for a more body-conscious and more comfortable look. In brief, the Armani Revolution made the men's silhouette softer and women stronger. In the early 80s, with the rise of the career woman, King George's power suit started a style earthquake. The 8-page cover stories in Time magazine in 1982 consecrated Gorgeous Giorgio as the king of Italian fashion. It was a huge tribute. He was the second living designer, the first was Christian Dior in March 1957, to be on the cover of the famous magazine. Armani's inspirations are changeless. The glamour of the 30s and the 40s, the mysterious, sensual, androgynous allure of stars such as Garbo and Dietrich. And again, Near Eastern traditional outfits, soft pants, long jackets, djellabas, the Bauhaus linear geometrical forms, and the impeccable style of the Far East, the simple elegance of Chinese, Korean, and Japanese shape, the color of Beijing lacquers, and the soft palette of Japanese prints. Armani's fame is deeply rooted in some important milestones that I would like to remember. 1981, the birth of Emporio Armani, the first line created by a designer dedicated to the young metropolitan tribes. The year 2000, when his retrospective took place at the Guggenheim Museum in New York. 2005, when he launched Armani Privé, his haute couture line, which soon became the must for stellar weddings, red carpet events, and Oscar nights. 2015, when Armani Silos, Armani's fashion art space, was inaugurated, celebrating his 40th anniversary and the 10th anniversary of Armani Privé. And by the way, Armani himself curated the project, renovating a former cereal storage facility and aptly renamed it Silos. Armani is also the first designer to establish a long, fruitful relationship with Hollywood dressing star on and off set. And he worked on the wardrobe of over 200 movies. Here are the most important ones. Of course, we have to start with Paul Schrader's 1980 American Gigolo. Richard Gere's sensuality in this Armani suit is really unforgettable, as well as the scene in which he takes out tons of Armani shirts, jackets, and ties from his closet. In 1987, along came Brian De Palma's The Untouchables, with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner in tweed and wool jackets by King Giorgio. 1990 marks the release of two memorable movies with Armani's costumes. The first is Goodfellas, directed by Giorgio's good friend Martin Scorsese. And please check out the mafia guy's suit. And the second is Bernardo Bertolucci, The Sheltering Sky, based on the eponymous novel by Paul Bowles. Here, The main character, played by John Malkovich, sports the iconic Armani look with linen shirts and soft trousers. Irving Winker's The Lovely, released in 2004, celebrated the lives of composer Cole Porter, played by Kevin Kline, and his uber-chic wife, Linda Ashley Judd. Armani was the perfect choice to design costumes for a movie like this, set in the 20s and 30s, and focus on celebrities known for their exquisite fashion taste. And what about the classic pinstripe suit? Voila, Kenneth Nolan's 2012 The Dark Knight Rises, starring Kristen Bale. And Batman never looked so impeccable. And also Martin Scorsese's 2013 The Wolf of Wall Street. And here Leo DiCaprio wears the power suit of the 80s and the 90s, the decades in which the movie takes place. And apropos of Hollywood, Armani is the king of the Academy Awards red carpet. No one has dressed as many stars as him. Diane Keaton was the first actress who wore Armani at the 1978 Oscars, where she was awarded Best Actress for Annie Hall. Quote, "I thought it was time to represent women, even stars, in a new way," Armani said. "A woman in a masculine suit on the red carpet, well, I find it extremely elegant and sensual at the same time," end of quote. In 1989, Best Supporting Actress winner for Dangerous Liaison, Michelle Pfeiffer, wore a simply navy silk suit that was applauded for its understatement. Jessica Tandy received the Best Actress Award for her performance in Driving Miss Daisy in 1989, wearing an Armani floral embroidery jacket. And here, Jodie Foster, who loves to wear Armani on the red carpet, holds her 1992 Best Actress Award for The Silence of the Lamb in an oyster-colored evening suit. In 1996, Mira Sorvino, Best Supporting Actress for Mighty Aphrodite, looked like a modern goddess in this Armani white silk gown with beaded strapless corset. And let's now see some of the stunning Armani's Privé evening gowns. In this picture, Cate Blanchett, who is also Armani's Global Beauty Ambassador, wears a delicate and romantic chiffon dress fully embroidered with sequins and Swarovski crystals at the 2014 Oscar, where she won the Best Actress Award for Blue Jasmine. Marlboro Red and a long train for Viola Davis, Best Supporting Actress in 2017 for Fences. All white with only one sleeve for Renée Zellweger, 2020 Best Actress in Judy. Last but not least, Meghan Markle's famous tell-all interview with Oprah in March 2021, for which she wore an Armani dress. Armani even collaborated with music icons such as Madonna, Beyoncé, and Lady Gaga, who went absolutely gaga for Armani style. It all began with this elliptical outfit Giorgio designed for the 2010 Grammys, followed the same year by this black evening gown for the MTV VMA Awards. Armani also designed costumes for Gaga's Born This Way Ball tour in Asia in 2012 and dressed the singer-actress in a Privé Black Mermaid dress at the Toronto Film Festival in 2018. Giorgio Armani himself has received many awards from, to name a couple, the French Légion d'honneur and the Italian Compasso d'Oro. He holds honorary degrees from the Royal College of Art and Central St. Martin's in London and from the Accademia di Brera in Milan. In 2019, at British Fashion Council Fashion Awards, Armani received the Outstanding Achievement Award, and all of his longtime friends, including Michelle Pfeiffer, Julia Roberts, and Cate Blanchett, were there, while Eric Clapton performed for him. Most recently, in November 2021, Italian President Mattarella crowned Giorgio Armani Knight Grand Cross decorated with Grand Cordon. And the honor, the highest and the most prestigious of the Italian Republic, is conferred for very high merits, a great recognition for an A+ designer. Thanks for listening, and keep in mind what the legendary costume designer Edith Head said. Fashion is a language. Some know it, some learn it like an instinct. Goodbye.
Okay, wonderful. That was.
Thank you.
I hope that whoever is going to just listen to this interview the first time around is going to go on to check out the video interview on our channel, and then your own channel, Italian Fashion from A to Z. Now, obviously, I have a couple of questions regarding the production of the show, because as you indicated before, the length of every episode could vary from so many minutes up to a maximum, and but there is so much information that flows so nicely, and also the background that accompanies flows equally seamless. How long does it take you? Well, maybe it's two questions. How long does it take you to research an episode and eventually write it? And then also, do you find yourself just going for one take, or sometimes to achieve that flawless, synchronicity of text and image might take a couple of takes?
No, it's a very interesting question. So the search, I did everything myself.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote, of course, and each episode, and I did the photo search. And because I am, I was trained by a great visual person, the late Franca Suzzani. Sometimes it's the visual that dictates everything. So I started from the visual, and from the visual, I built up the episode, and not on the other way.
Vice versa. Mm-hmm.
And it took me, I would say, 10 days per episode, more or less. And it's a great challenge, because of course, you need to know since the right beginning what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And you can find something on the website, you can find something in your books, in reference books, but you have to know more or less what you're looking for. Because if you write on the computer Giorgio Armani, the picture that you're going to find out are not the picture that I selected. So you need to know what to search in order to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that, again, internet is great, is a great source, but if you don't know the beginning and how to start, mm-hmm. you can get lost. And you can also have, not good information, not correct information, mm-hmm. especially visually speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Then I organized my PowerPoint, and it flows because I wrote everything. They told me, the people from Alvin's film, that there are
the technical
very nice group of young talents who helped me all through the way, especially Isaac Lipsing, who was my guardian angel. They said to me, in order to have a kind of fluency and in order to move along, each image can support 2 lines of writing, no more than that. So mm-hmm. I did that, and I started writing in my PowerPoint under each photograph, and that took sometimes 10 days. It depends. Sometimes it took 4 days because for some episodes you have less material. Mm-hmm. But if you talk about Armani, of course, you want to also show the richness of his production.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So whenever the program started to air, had you written already all the episodes, or there were still some that you were working on that you had already accounted?
No, we finished. We finished doing more or less all the recording in October.
Okay.
And it's more or less everything is under control. We are almost finished.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we aired the 20th episode. We're gonna air the 20th episode next Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 10 o'clock New York time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have a new episode coming up on YouTube, and so the people who want to see it, they can actually enjoy the other 19 episodes that are there. But we're gonna have 6 more, because the letters of the alphabet are 25, so 25 letters. They're gonna go random, and so, and more or less, you know what, everything is fine, because as you know, fashion is very much alive, so certain things can change. And for instance, Gucci, they you know, the great designer of Gucci left the house, and the you know, 2 weeks ago, they announced the replacement. So we add, you know, something to the episode, which was last week.
Let's also talk about the setup of your nice stool, the images in the back. Was it something originally envisioned that way, or is it a result of try and error?
No. I mean, Italian fashion from A to Z is lovely, because it was a real work in progress, and we change ideas every now and then. So originally, they wanted to find a very intimate, cozy place. So we recorded a couple of episodes in my apartment here in New York. Then we checked, and we found that it would have been too distracted for the audience because of all the tchotchkes that I have around. And so we thought eventually to hire a studio. And then I came up with the idea that, everybody agreed. And I said, well, since this is promoted and produced by Casa Italiana, and Casa Italiana at NYU has a lovely auditorium, which is, I said, why don't we film that in our house? Is where I do my interviews with people, and they all agree. So we did that. And normally we film during the weekends, because during the week the auditorium is yes, and also functions as a classroom, or after 5 o'clock they have people talking about lecturing or doing interviews or projecting movies. So it's very much a living place.
Something that I wanted to, well, actually this episode that we showed, the A+ as Armani, with the connection with Andy Warhol, obviously we are located in Pittsburgh, so it couldn't be or fancy.
You have a wonderful museum.
Yeah, as we were talking about the different gowns being worn. So I'm going to borrow some of the questions from your Q episode. So I'm actually asking you, are there any fashion museums, a centralized Italian fashion museum?
No, we have in Italy. We don't have. As I told in that, episode, which is the letter Q, which stands for questionnaire. In Italy, we don't have a museum like, for instance, Palais Galliera in Paris, which is a museum dedicated to the great French fashion. We have small museums, and we also have museums that belongs or are dedicated to a single designers. For instance, we have the Valentino Virtual Museum, which is a wonderful museum, and is online and is available for everybody. But we don't have a museum of Italian fashion.
So it's either
it's a long debated issue. Yeah. They are talking since day one, since the 80s. And
Yeah.
apparently it's difficult to find a location, to find what to put. It's more complicated than saying.
Absolutely. So individuals that might be interested that might have to look either at individual museums or archives or foundations. And
we have wonderful foundation. In
Mhm.
Italy, we have great foundation for someone who really wants to study fashion. We have, for instance, one of the best is the Gianfranco Ferré Foundation.
Mhm.
Gianfranco Ferré was the famous architect of fashion. And when he died, Rita Iraghi, who was Ferré cousins, but especially, right arm, put together the great treasure of the Ferré's archive, and she hired people and she catalogs everything. And now she donated to the Politecnico in Milano, which is the architectural school where Ferré studied. And so it is in a wonderful industrial area of Milan. Fondazione is open to the public if you want to study, if you want to, have a professional approach to what Ferré, did in terms of drawings, in terms of putting together, an outfit. You have everything there.
Mhm.
And it is impeccably organized. And by the way, Ferré is also the subject of a lovely exhibition right now at the Istituto Italiano di Los Angeles.
Okay, wonderful. I will have to look
Yes.
into that. And talking about universities, people that might be interested in pursuing a degree in fashion, what are some of the options available to them?
Oh, we have different, very, very good schools. And it depends if you want to have a more of a approach to journalism, or if you want to have an approach to marketing, or making fashion. So there are different aspects that you have to consider. But for instance, great universities are La Sapienza in Rome, Bologna, and of course my university, University of Milan. And Rome is another great university. And also you have schools there where you can study to marketing, fashion. You can study fashion marketing, and also fashion, a little bit of fashion journalism, and also fashion design. And Polimoda is one of the best.
Segue to that,
Polimoda in Florence.
If we're not pursuing a degree but want to get our feet wet, get a little more curious and knowledgeable on Italian fashion, are there any books that you would recommend as must-haves or must start with, that, or any personal preference? I'm sure it's a very scattered conversation. Maybe there's one book about.
You can buy gazillions of books, and you can buy also encyclopedia of fashion. It depends on also what would you like to study. If you want to study a single designer or a period of fashion, so it's kind of tricky. Personally, it's also true that personally, I think that we have a lot of monographs, beautiful monographs of fashion designers, but they are full of wonderful pictures and very little, and then you have a very little text, very little meat. So my suggestion is to check my little series. And then if you are interested, you can dig and you can find what is, what would you like to know more about it?
Okay.
Because there is no one book that I could recommend.
That's what I would have expected a little bit, to be indeed not a central location, central textbook, but someone that will take a research and knowledge. It will take you in many different directions. Now, probably you have, and you still have the privilege to attend fashion shows. Is there again some international appointments not to be missed to see some great fashion?
No, I stopped going to fashion shows when I retired in 2015, and I started, my new life as a professor at University of Statale in Milan. I don't, I still remember some beautiful shows in the past. Definitely, there are still some shows right now. They are, unmissable, and one of them is definitely Armani, and one of them is definitely, at least for me, Versace, and also there are great production of French designers that now they are owned by this luxury poles like LVMH or Kering, and so the productions are spectacular. I mean, I think of Chanel or Dior. I mean, they're quite breathtaking.
Okay, so we have reached the end of our beautiful conversation, and I would like for our audience for you to repeat the beautiful quote that you always have at the end of the episode, as we see beautiful pictures of you as well. So what?
Thank you. Well, you know what, believe it or not, the quote, I don't even remember the quote, even if it's, okay, I decided to finish every episode of my series with a quote of Edith Head. The quote, you can listen to the quote, which is nice. Fashion is a language. Some know it, some learn it like an instinct. This is the quote. But who was Edith Head? This is interesting to know eventually here, more than the quote. Edith Head was a powerful force at Paramount Pictures, and she was a lady who was nominated to 35 Academy Awards and won probably 8 Academy Awards. And again, she was responsible of the look of many great actors from the 50s, Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, and believe it or not, also Audrey Hepburn. Although we know that Audrey Hepburn was dressed by Umberto Givenchy, the French couturier, who was also a very good friend of her. But the friction with Edith Head was very, quite strong. And Umberto Givenchy, for instance, worked uncredited for several movies, including Sabrina. And for Sabrina, Edith Head got the Academy Award. Givenchy was starting being credited for Funny Face and The Breakfast at Tiffany, although Edith Head was the head designer. So Edith Head was a very tough cookie. But if you think of Rear Window, very wonderful and glamorous movies from the 50s, Rear Window, Sabrina, and The Cat on the Hot Tin Roof, all these great actresses were Edith Head creations. Okay. She was, one of my, one of the people that I most worshipped.
Wonderful. Well, unfortunately, our hour is up. Il Big Ben ha detto stop. It's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for tuning in into the program. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any trouble topics you would like us to address, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family or friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, visit our website at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour tab where you can catch your favorite episodes. We would like to thank our guest, Grazia D'Annunzio. Our sponsor is Istituto Mondo Italiano e Alla Buora for the music. And if you're not living in Pittsburgh, again, you can catch our episodes on our YouTube channel, The Italian Radio Hour, or where you catch your favorite podcasts. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, grazie, Viviana. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Ciao.